Hello, and welcome to episode 77 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I am your host. With me, as always, is the king of strong style, the man with 1.65 functional arms, Derek Oswald. Derek, what did you get up to in Flesh and Blood this weekend?
A lot of crying.
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah, that's the reality. So last week's episode, I said I was going to try to play in at least one Road to National, but my wife's grandfather passed away. We had a lot of family stuff going on. And on top of that, my oldest son turned 10 on Sunday. So I did not make it to any of the local events. One of my local friends, Ben, has done well in a couple of them so far. So I know you listen. Hello, Ben. Congratulations. But I didn't make it to any. So right now, it's been a lot of me practicing for an event that I likely will not be able to play in, which just made me very sad. I was also double sad because back when I didn't know that I was going to play in any at all, I just didn't look at any of the prizing. And I've since learned that cold foil adult Uzuris are in the prize pool. So now I'm trying to scramble to get one of those as well. So yeah, it's been a lot of crying. There's an outside shot. So obviously I can't play while we are in Pittsburgh, but there's an outside shot that maybe I can arrange for a babysitter and take one crack at one on June 3rd, but it's not looking good. And so a lot of crying. And it's mostly because last year I qualified for nationals and then I didn't go because of the expense. And this year I really want to go now that we know it's in Vegas. That's a much, it's weird because you'd think Vegas is expensive, but it's actually a much cheaper trip for me than Charlotte was. Because the flights are going to be like half the cost and there's some bonuses that I get for hotels and whatever. So this time I really want to go and there's a very strong likelihood I won't qualify. So it's just been a lot of me being depressed. So good stuff, but it's just not for me.
Isn't the 18th anniversary of your 21st birthday soon, or was a few days ago or something?
Oh, no. That's no, let's see, that's on Thursday. So when I celebrate my birthday on Thursday, this is how you celebrate turning 39 for those of you who are, coming up on that. I am going to go to work, except during my work day, I'm going to take some leave time from my job, use my own vacation time to go and get my arm x-rayed so they can make sure that the screw and the metal button that have been placed inside of me haven't moved. And then I get to come back home, finish work just in time for my therapy session, because that's also really important. And then I will try not to cry myself to sleep before getting up the next day and heading out to Pittsburgh. So yes, that is coming up. It has not yet passed.
I did not hear cake.
No, I'm not really a big cake person. Tonight we did a belated cake thing because yesterday we were out of the house. So for Stark's birthday tonight we did cake, but we did an ice cream cake, and so that's ice cream. So ice cream I can get behind, but
so hold on. We stand bread on this podcast.
I do love bread. I'm just not
cake is just bread.
Yeah, I mean it is, but it isn't.
There's got to be a cake you like.
There's plenty. Yeah, there's absolutely cakes.
What's your
that
cake?
I like.
What's your cake?
Number one cake, like of all time, is Kyiv cake that I had in Kyiv, like made by a local.
Is it coffee cake? Is it a?
It's like heaven, dude. It's got like a consistency of like a softer, moister angel cake, but then they also had this like really good cream inside, and there were like almond flakes, and I've never had a cake like it in my life. You can get Kyiv cake, but the one that I was served at this really nice restaurant in Kyiv was life-changing. So like to me, that's number one.
Jesus. Like a sponge cake, but just better.
But sponge cake, here's the thing, it was so good that saying it like sponge cake sounds derogatory toward the Kyiv cake. I don't know how else to put this other than I worship at the altar of that delicious confectionery treat.
All right.
But like standard things that I can just get usually readily available, where I don't have to travel to war-torn Europe at the moment.
Jesus Christ.
would be like carrot cake is usually my go-to.
See,
I love a good
that's
carrot
mine.
cake.
I'm a carrot cake stand.
I like a good carrot cake. Yeah.
Okay,
But yeah,
that
no, I'm
makes sense
telling you,
then.
man, that Kiev cake, they were like, yeah, you know,
I
you have to try it. I was like, sure, I'll try it. And then I was like, oh, this
oh
awakened
no.
something in me.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm about to
no.
say I might have another kid soon. Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh,
That oof. Yeah, so I actually did go play in a road to nationals this weekend. So um we'll get to nationals news, but a funny thing happened on the way to the forum on Friday night. I started getting text messages from a variety of people saying, "Holy shit, Nats is in Vegas," and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, man, Nats is in Vegas." And I'm like, "When is it?" And then because I was playing Frosthaven with friends, I wasn't really paying attention to my phone or social media or anything. And they're like, "It's August 25th through 27th," and I was like, "I can't go to nationals." Awesome, fan fucking tastic. I will be at a wedding in New Orleans on the 26th, and I will miss US Nationals. It's in one of my favorite cities to go and be a degenerate lunatic in.
just
So
gift me your qualification.
you can't do that.
I know.
But I did go play. So I went and played in one so I was going to play in two this weekend if I didn't qualify in the first one, but obviously I was not going to go play. I wasn't going to drive 6 hours round trip, then turn around and drive 7 hours round trip the next day if it's for nothing. So I went and played in the one because the buddy I was going to go with is still planning on going, and so I was like, okay, I will go and block for you. That's what I'll go do. And so it was a 18 person 5-rounder, and at so 3 and 2 is a lock to get you in. And we got paired in round 4 when we were both 2 and 1. So I just said, "Yep, here you go, concede, go in." And then went and won my last round to hop into top 8 again. And then once I got my cold foil, I've earned my cold foil with Zuri. She's right here. She's pretty. Then it was just going to be scooping the person across from me, to go in. I played it out, made them sweat anyway, and they beat me. I mean, I was definitely playing loose, but they beat me. I played Briar, and I played like I was in a casino the entire time. There was a situation in round 1 playing against Fi. It was turn 2, and they were coming in on a snatch for 5. On hit, mass trigger plus snatch trigger with Snapdragons up. And I looked at my life total and I did the math and I went, okay, provided you just hit everything ever that you can possibly get off this in the worst possible way, the lowest life total you can put me to is 3. Call. Let's go. And my hand was Channel Mount Heroic, Tome, Blue, Tome, Lightning Surge in Arsenal. So Tome of the Arc Knight, Sonata, Blue Earth card, Channel Mount Heroic, Lightning Surge in Arsenal. So we play the channel, we attack with the Surge, we break the Aether Weave, we play the Tome. Tome hits, Tome attack, play that next Tome, hit Tome attack, play the next Tome, hit Sonata attack, play the first Sonata, draw 2 cards, play the next Sonata, draw 2 Swarming Gloom Veils, fuse a Force of Nature off of all the bullshit I've now drawn, and now every attack is at minimum 7 draw a card. Go again. And I proceeded to... My opponent blocked 16 damage and took 36. And I'm like, it was worth it. He put me to 7 on my turn. He took me from 38 to 7. And I ate his hand and took him from 40 to 4.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, we're just going to the casino. Fuck this. Like, I'm just going to do this. And it was epically fun to do that. And we got to also do it to... I love playing the Codex of Frailty games because I was playing against Azalea. They're telegraphing a Codex. So I left my arsenal purposefully blank because I just needed any attack with Go again to kill him. And so they were like, okay, do the thing. And I'm like, yep, put Lightning Surge in my arsenal. Discard a card. Don't really care. Channel, Lightning Surge, 2 and 2, eat your hand, put you to 2. No longer game. So that was the type of shit I was doing all day long, and my 2 losses were both at Dorinthia, and they were fun as hell too. Where it was down to, okay, you need to have exactly not this, in order to get me to it by exacties. And it's like, okay, well, you got me, great. That's all. Like that's all it is. I think Dory's actually going to be very good with certain things that have transpired. So that's one to have a look at coming up soon. But yeah, and then so this was nice because I said before, I'd gone on a 1 for infinity streak playing in Flesh and Blood where I was just not winning anything. So did a CC Armory, went 3-1, go to a Road to Nationals, do fairly well. So that felt good, to go in and actually get some W's in there. Maybe I'll do okay in Pittsburgh now.
You just need
like a complete
you need loss streaks before the events that count, right? So the pendulum swings in the other direction.
Yeah. So it's a big bummer to not be able to go to Nats. I have a good time in Vegas, but whenever I'm there, and I know, whenever I'm there with friends, it usually gets completely out of hand. You can ask Tommy, Elaine, Anthony, Flake, Missy. I mean, it's a long list of people that got up to some bullshit with me last time in Vegas. So, yeah, but yeah, Nats, we know now. Thankfully we found out on Friday, because if I would have found out like today after grinding a weekend to qualify, I'd be oh so pissed that I took and spent that time traveling and grinding and qualifying to find out I qualified for a thing I couldn't go to. So thankfully we did find out. Again, sad I may be missing it, but August 25th through 27th in Vegas at the Westgate. So sorry, Matt and Carolina. I know that you're pretty bummed about that, because I think Matt's still banned from there. But there will be a Classic Constructed Calling as well, and a Blitz Battle Hardened for those who are not qualified. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The calling might be enough to still drag me out.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly believe if you can make the one that you have a potential shot at on the 3rd, I feel like you'll be able to get it. You'll be able to get in. Especially, I mean, like, honestly, got 18 players. There wasn't a single Oldham in the room.
Oh, so we have Oldhams here
For now.
I'm actually really surprised that Ben has not been an Oldham. He's normally a Guardian steward, much like myself, but playing Kano is also cracking me up. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, people forgot about Dre. It happens every competitive card game where there's a deck that's degenerate but easily hated, and when that deck loses market share, people start just sliding some of the hate away.
Yeah.
And then they just get bodied.
ABs plus blues are a thing, and then he's like, "Oh, you can't block any of this." Well, take 6
shit. Yeah, I guess. Like, I guess I'll just kill you on 2 then. Sounds fine to me. Fuck, I don't care. But yeah, so like I said, anybody that has a chance to go to Vegas, this community does very well in Vegas as far as having a good time, being available, and doing some just really fun shit. So please, it's I know a lot of people have a lot of misgivings about Vegas just because of expense, which again, it's not that expensive. And food is expensive, like for going out and dining, and if you're going and not drinking, if you're going and drinking in like the casino bars and stuff like that, it's expensive, but otherwise it's not that bad.
I was just about to say, the thing about Vegas is, and this is why I love it for like card game events or esports events, is that the travel part is usually super cheap. There's always a lot of flights going there. And I know a lot of people like think about luxury hotels or whatever, but the reality is you can find some really good rates on hotels in Vegas because they want you to be there because everything else is what's expensive. So when you show up to play a card game or, a video game for an esports event or whatever, you don't end up spending that much money because the travel is, the big expense usually there, right? So I mean, that's not to say that you can't spend a lot of money there. Don't get me wrong. Like, you can scrub out O2 and then go to the casino or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, when it comes to these kinds of events, like Vegas is actually one of the better spots, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got into it's. I typically there's a couple of sports books I really like to just hang out in, throw some bets down, and they just bring you drinks while you watch the game. But the problem there is you start drinking, and then the bet screens are just in front of you, so you can
Yeah.
just keep betting on the games that come up. And so if you have any compulsion towards gambling, not to say that I do or anyone else I know does, named that whose name's rhymed with Dordan Bennedy, but when you get people like that inside of one of those sports books, I mean, win or lose, you're still like trying to run the math of, I'm still only paying like $3 a drink. It's fine. And you're binge drinking and gambling, which sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think that'll be a good time for everybody that's able to attend. I will have a large case of FOMO, I'm sure, but that's okay. We also had the Calling Antwerp happen, and Pablo Pintor has murdered another hero. He has 2 on the kill list at this point. As Oldham is victorious, he was sitting at exactly 900 living legend points going into the event. A calling win gives you 100 points. Good night, sweet prince.
Listen, I don't want to take anything away from Mr. Pintor. Fantastic player, absolutely deserves the reputation of, retiring these heroes. First Chain, now Oldham, but there's an argument to be made because he's just the person who's like finishing the job, that he is the Mo Williams of Flesh and Blood. If you're not familiar, this is a very niche football reference, but there was a time when the Minnesota Vikings had a running back who would carry the ball maybe 30 times a year, but he would get like 10 to 15 touchdowns.
11 touchdowns, yeah.
They had a running back that was great between the 20s, and then the minute they got anywhere in the red zone, they were like, oh, well, here's the ball, Mo. And the problem is, this was in the era when they had like Culpepper and Randy Moss, and so they had all these other threats, and so anybody probably could have ran it in, but they always gave it to this dude named Mo Williams. And so anyway, I have this thought of like everybody else doing all the work, and then Pablo's like, I got you, like we're just gonna get it across the goal line now.
Well, my thought is just we'll get Pablo practicing Dromai now, so that it when the time comes, he can put the final nail in that coffin.
That's what's going to be the best part, right? Like Mara by herself is going to get Dromai like 600 points, and then Pintor is just going to be like, oh, by the way, I retired Dromai.
That's funny too, because I think if I'm correct, Mara has gotten Dromai exactly 0 living legend points.
Yeah.
She has contributed none to the demise of
That's
Dromai.
Because she's playing the long con. She's like, I can keep winning money at events by doing well enough to cash, but not well enough to ruin the hero I'm doing it with.
Or she just can't close.
There are 2 ways to look at it. One is your way, and one is the correct way.
I don't know. Like, I don't know about that. But the our gay icon Mara Ferris is definitely good at Dromai, but you're right, she could be playing the long con. Hashtag no free ads, Mara. You owe me an altar now for that mention on the show. I guess I'm curious now because like I think the next B&S announcement is in July, like July 6th, I believe. So do we get ourselves a little bit of an aggro summer now? I mean, Briar's probably gone too, but we've been saying that the last 3 fucking seasons that Briar has been close in, and she never crossed the finish line. Oldham got there before her. But could we be looking at an aggro summer without an Ice Guardian to slow things down?
Possibly. The thing that keeps throwing me is, one, like Bravo exists, and I know that people are not high on Bravo, and I know that there are reasons for that, don't get me wrong, but I do think that he's just historically been undervalued in it. I think what's going to happen is, once Oldham is gone, you're going to see a lot of people revisiting aggro. So there will be a first wave. People are going to pick Phi back up again and be like, oh yeah, this character is very, very good at just slinging a ton of damage. I think we're going to see more Katsu, definitely a lot of Lexi. But in a response to that, right, I still think that one, you might see more control-oriented Azalea pop up because Red in the Ledger is a hell of a card. I think that you're going to see Bravo pick up at least some of the Oldhim players and have them, like, they'll try to figure it out and navigate it. But I also think that there are other heroes that have a lot of potential defensively to kind of like take the mantle, that the reason you didn't play them was because Oldhim just did the exact same thing but better. And so what I'm thinking about is like Riptide, for example. Riptide has not had a lot of popularity, but once you can't just like lean into Oldhim, I think you're going to see people, you know, try to pick that up. I also think that Fatigue Uzuri has some really decent matchups into, you know, certain heroes. And I think that you're going to have your more defensive minded folks try to pick that up as well. So I don't know. I don't know that it'll be a true aggro summer. There will definitely be a wave, right? There's going to be aggro spring break for sure. Or, you know, first week of summer vacation where all the kids are running wild. But I don't think that it's going to be as bad as it sounds.
Sure. I do believe that there is some additional viability because you don't have necessarily a deck that so Earth Ice React is brutal on a lot of those decks because they're relying on their entire hand, and also relying on, you know, being able to sneak as much damage in it through as possible and eat cards. It's, and with no Oldhim that changes. So Bravo typically has, you know, historically I should say, has just been more disruptive than defensive, which disruption is a form of defense, and I get that part. That makes sense. But I think that it's not necessarily that aggro is going to dominate. It's just that aggro gains viability.
Yeah.
And there's also other decks I think that gain viability. We just talked about one. Kano probably gains viability, not with Oldhim being gone as far as the Kano Oldhim matchup, but with less Oldhim, the decks will start leaning more redline again, especially early in aggressive matchups. And Kano just gets to nuke those decks because they can't fight on that axis.
Like long term, this is my train of thought, right? I fully suspect that you're going to see some interest in non-Lexi aggro decks once again, because people will at least want to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
That in turn, just based on numbers, I think you're then going to have folks who, again, remember Bravo as a hero, but also realize that into non-Lexi aggro decks, Bravo, even with just his disruption, has a hell of a good matchup. Like back when Phi was still considered really good, I just was not losing games to Phi whatsoever on Bravo because you've got Chokeslam and Crush the Weak and Spinal. Obviously, Crippling is a nightmare. There's just so many things to disrupt your non-Lexi aggro decks that Bravo really shines there. But the other reason, as you were just pointing out, that I think Bravo could pop back up again is Kano, because there's not another hero in the game that's as blue heavy, like by default, as Bravo. So when you do bring in the AB, it's going to be that much easier to like fend it off. You know,
if I were preparing for an event in July and without any Dusk Till Dawn information,
I was just about to say that's the other piece of this puzzle.
Not a big amount of it. Like if I were preparing right now and wanted to win a tournament, I would start playing Icelander now. Tons of blues, tons of aggro slowdown, ways to attack aggro on an axis they are not comfortable fighting. It just makes sense for Icelander to be good into the meta of decks we're going to be seeing. And I'm not talking Wounded Bull Icelander. I'm talking old school full arcane Icelander is where I would go.
Yeah. And it's what I call combo Icelander, honestly.
Right, sure.
Where they play for the second cycle and then They just hammer you.
And then do the thing. Right. Do the fucking thing. That's the deck I would be picking up and repping out right now. It is... If it's bad, it's bad. And again, we have another set coming that's going to... And we'll get into some of that here soon, because it looks like it's going to be... It's going to at least shake the foundation a bit. I don't know if it'll be earth-shattering, but from what we've seen so far, which isn't much, it's getting up to some bullshit. But I think that's where my starting point would be. If I want to attack the meta and not just play what is the consensus best deck, that's where I would start. The top 8 of this event was not super... I mean, it was diverse enough, I guess. There's 5 heroes, but Oldham with 2 copies, and they faced off in the quarters, rip. 3 Lexis, a Rhinar, and a Zuri, and Azalea in the finals was Oldham taking down Uzuri in a kind of a beatdown. A very methodical game played by Pablo Pintor. Did not take the bait a couple of times where he could have. He definitely could have gotten a little greedy on taking some damage to try to swing back with his opponent at 1, and instead played it very, very patiently, which is something I can't do. I'm sorry, not that I can't. I'm very bad at doing consistently. So that was... If you want a masterclass on how to navigate Oldham in switching game plans midway through and then switching back again, look no further. Just go watch that. While Azalea didn't win this event, we do have confirmed, and we are now confirmed, that the Azalea Bounty has been claimed. It is officially gone, and Azalea won a 24-person RTN. That was only 2 Azaleas in the room.
Wow.
Total. So that hits the criteria of the Azalea Bounty. So us here at Flesh and Pod Inc., LLC, maybe an LLC, I don't fucking actually know. We'll be sending the victor or the winner of the bounty a cold foil Corsham for their trouble. I believe the Twitter handle of the winning user was at 420 Blazing Ether, so the perfect handle for anybody on the internet, quite honestly, that plays Flesh and Blood, as that is very gamer tag centric. But the Azalea Bounty has been down. If you are a listener of this show at 420 Blazing Ether, please be in contact. Let us know where we can send the prize. Would be happy to get that off my desk as soon as fucking possible. It's been sitting there for a long time because Azalea didn't have any living legend points until now. But that's always, like, we knew it was going to happen during this RTN season. I mean, we were pretty confident that was going to happen during this RTN season. And I'm happy that it happened fairly early, because if it was a sweat again, it's like, come on. Azalea is actually kind of good right now. There's no way she couldn't win one fucking event. But so I'm glad it's done. It's pretty cool. I'm very excited that Azalea is in a place to be viable. Well, Derek, it's not spoiler season.
But it is.
But it is. Because it always is spoiler season in the world of Flesh and Blood. So we got spoilers from a variety of sources over the course last week. The first source was the June Armory Kit. So the June Armory Kit is quite possibly my favorite Armory Kit ever at this point, because everything in it looks insane. So
it looks really good.
Really good. So we get the poster for the adult Vincent. Vincent looks like Guardian Shadow Runeblade, quite honestly. And I am in love. Pretty much. That's the best way to describe it. There's Rainbow Foil Extended Art Vantum Banshees. We'll get into that card here in a moment. There is 1X Requiem of the Damned playmat. I need this in my life. This is one of the coolest looking arts in Flesh and Blood already, and it has zones. So
I mean,
I will chase this down.
It looks really, really cool. It's like I mean, it's like something that you would see in like a haunted cemetery. Like it's the closest thing. You know what I realized when I saw this originally is that Flesh and Blood needs gargoyles in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And this was like the closest I'd seen to that, but like it's really pretty. It really does look amazing. And then the other one, I know it doesn't have zones, but the other one is gorgeous too.
The stained glass one, glass one, yeah, that one's really good too.
I'm still holding out hope because we've seen the stained glass motif, you know, a couple of times now in the promo art, but there's also like these very dedicated windows for the stained glass. I'm hoping that we're gonna have stained glass marvels. Yeah. Because it just looks like these could very easily be like card art. Each one is like an individual card art that is on this map, but
the way that they're framed, yeah. But we know that this Requiem for a Damned is a card. I will need whatever this art is on in every probably every version possible. This is like something I would get tattooed. Like it is.
I would make a great sleeve.
It'd be a great sleeve. It is incredible looking. And it looks like there's like the eclipse in the background. And it's, oh God, it's beautiful. I absolutely adore it. Then we get we also get the cold foil Flail of Agony. We're actually going to, I know I have this flipped in the show notes, which I rarely reference anyway, but I'm going to flip these right now. We're going to talk about Flail first. Flail of Agony is a Vinset specialization, so it's a Shiana card. Shadow Runeblade weapon, Flail, one-handed. That's important, I'm pretty sure. And it is once per turn. It is one attack. Once per turn, pay 1 life, attack. When this hits, create a rune chant. So it's awkward as fuck to block. There's only one hero right now that'll be able to run Rampart, and they can't run Crown. Although Briar can currently run Crown, but if Briar LL's out, there's no Crown of Seeds in Classic Constructed to get rid of this. So you have to block it, or it gets in for 1 with another one behind it.
Well, and the fun thing is even if they are a Crown Briar, we still have Vambrace too.
This card is fun as hell. Like that is, I don't know what the other cards do yet. It does kind of give us some information that Vinset's ability are probably, you know, obviously centered around loss of life, which would make sense with Blood Debt, would make sense with the fact that she has fucking blades poking into her body at every point in time, because, you know, you're getting poked by something, you're obviously taking some damage, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this interacts. And also the interesting part to me is that this is a Vinset specialization. So they knew that this now can go into Shiana, but wanted to keep it out of chain for whatever reason. So what else is going to be happening here that makes this problematic?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. The first thing that jumped out to me specifically was that it was a one-handed weapon.
You can play Arcane Lantern next to it.
So you can play Arcane Lantern next to it. But this was my train of thought on why you maybe do the Vinset thing, right? We don't know what New Chain's weapon will be, right? Because Galaxy Black is gone with the old one. So if it's another, you know, one-handed weapon, maybe they did not want something where you could pair the two together.
Sure.
The other thing that stands out is, again, you can run Lantern. You can just run 2 Flails too.
I mean, they don't have Go Again, but sure.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of bothering me that they don't naturally have Go Again, but it's not like we don't have cards that exist that say your next Rune Blade attack can gain go again. And so it would, it's not an attack action, but anything where it's like your next Runeblade attack, that would work. We do also know that Spellbound Creepers is a card, and there are plenty of ways to just suddenly get go again at the end of this weapon attack. So you can run 2 flails, but the other part specifically with Vinset, and again, because you said you suspect there's going to be a loss of life theme, and I also suspect that heavily just based on what's on the Banshee text and the fact that her art has her hurting herself, and now we have the flail. I wonder if we're also then going to have something else for the other hand for her, whether it's a generic or
a shield.
So shield is one option, but I think it'd be really cool if instead you have some sort of like totem or a focus or something,
a book, a tome, something.
Yeah, well, the only reason I didn't think book is because like we already have a Runeblade book, but that's a two-handed book.
It's a two-handed book,
right? But that's a two-handed book in part because
Runeblades don't read paperbacks. We know. Well, they only do hardcover.
No, it's actually because here's one of my favorite things about that particular weapon. Flavor-wise, it's my second favorite weapon in the game, only behind the orb that you ponder. And the reason why is because the way that the book works is like you tear the pages literally out of it because of the interaction. And so in my head, my head canon for this, and I think there's a tweet of me like back when that was spoiled, even I think I even tweeted it, where I basically said like Runeblades rip the pages out and draw a rune chant on it with crayon or something like that, and like that's what's happening. But anyway, there's a book that's already two-handed, so I don't think it's that. I think it'd be really cool if it's like a totem or a focus or something that also either gives you a way to give yourself health back or does something else based on life that you lose. Also, listen, I don't want like cards to spike in price, and I know that Runeblade stuff has already started to go up, and a number of things have kind of started to go up because of the announcement. But one of the cards that I've been keeping an eye on that I'm surprised hasn't yet spiked is the sigils, because I really suspect that it's going to end up being a mainstay in Vinset just based on what we're seeing. So if you don't own sigils, I would suggest maybe picking up some sigils.
Yeah, I have plenty. But we're going to keep on the Vinset train here and talk about Vantum Banshee, which is probably one of the coolest designs I've seen in Flesh and Blood in a long time. So we're going to get to the bases here really fast. It's a red, yellow, blue. So there's a rainbow pitch. It's a 3 cost. The red is 7. So 7, 6, 5. Block 3. So it does come in blue block 3 for those who love blue block 3. Has Blood Debt. Also has the ability Rune Gate, which is, this becomes very interesting because it's a Shadow Runeblade card, so it's not a Viserai card. And Rune Gate says if you control rune chants equal to or greater than Vantum Banshee's pitch cost, cost, you may play it from your banish zone without paying its cost. So if you have 3 or more rune chants, this is 0 for 7 from your banish zone.
If it's banished. So that's going to be the real ticket.
Very important. How do you banish
it? How is Vinset doing the banish? So it's either going to be card text on the hero, or again, maybe something to do with the offhands.
Sure.
But I've already, even with cards that exist, I've already loved the idea of you have 3 rune chants, so you banish this with your Art of War.
Right.
And you choose, draw 2 cards and your next attack as go again, let's say, and then you get a 0 for 10 to start your turn. Seems okay.
Or, this is in there, you have your 3 rune chants and you just mob skies.
Yep.
Okay. And here, or shadow puppetry or whatever. I mean, really whatever floats your boat here. It is important to note that this cannot be snapdragoned. This cannot be razored. This can be pummeled.
Yes.
So no matter what, You can do something super fucked up with this card. So you can play 0 for 7 with 3 rune chance and also pummel it. And your cost is 2 cards max.
There is something else really important about this, specifically the red and the yellow versions, that is not lost on me as we get ready to go into this new set.
That they pop dragons and Spectra.
Well, it's pops,
not Spectra. Phantasm.
Pops Phantasm. Yes, just in general. So dragons are important, but obviously with a new Prism right around the corner and potentially a new Shiana as well, it's looking like that's going to be ever more important. And Runeblade in the past, while they can have the tools, like the chain version didn't really have a lot of high attack stuff because they were more of a go wide thing. And then Levia was your go tall version of Shadow. This looks like it's giving Vincent some tools as well, which I really dig.
Yeah, this and the keys to me here are the opportunity cost for putting this in your deck is actually pretty minimal. It is a block 3. It is big enough to pop things. It's the rate on it is good enough on the surface for the red to be playable. The rest of the card makes its ceiling astronomically high. And so there's the opportunity cost for playing this in a Shadow Runeblade deck is effectively 0. Making Rune Chance, not that hard. There's Revel in Runeblood. There's Read the Runes. There's Grasp of the Arknight. There's just so many ways to make Rune Chance. I'm also encouraged because if Rune Gate is a focal ability of the set, they're probably going to give more tools to Shadow specific to make Rune Chance, which is interesting.
I don't know if they're going to do it to Shadow specific. I think it'll be Runeblade cards.
It could be just
Rune, because I don't think they want to give like Levia Rune Chance, for example.
Right, that's a good point. But we're definitely.
I think we could see just Shadow without the Runeblade tag have Blood Debt stuff, so that you can go.
No, it already does. Yeah, Ghostly Touch and shit like that.
Yeah.
But this is one of those interesting pieces where, so Vantum Banshee, the ways just right now that are super effective to banish this in Shadow Runeblade. You have Art of War. I mean, without Chain's ability, we're going to just leave Chain out of the conversation. Is you have Art of War and Shadow Verser. Those are both insanely good at getting this thing in the banish zone. You also, I mean, there's going to be more ways to banish things if Blood Debt's involved, and Blood Debt is involved. I really do hope it's not similar to Rune Shackle or Soul Shackles, because those are busted and probably just a bad idea. But this card is playable no matter what. And I think that's the important takeaway here, is it's just good. What are you looking at? You look perplexed.
I just felt like we were forgetting something. I feel like there's another option for banishing your own stuff.
In Runeblade?
Well, yeah, I thought... I feel like besides Art of War, there was like one other generic card that so it doesn't work for Vantum Banshee, but looking for scrap. That's another card that's like I'm keeping on my radar, because if we start getting cards
lower cost,
like Shadow of Verser, for example, these things that have the low attack, the 1 damage blood debt stuff. Like blue rift binds and things like that. Like that's another thing that I've been trying to keep in the back of my mind anyway.
Yeah. I guess we can also be very happy that Soul Reaping is a Chain specialization. Oh, wait, Chain can play this card. Never mind.
Yeah.
Value Town.
So the other thing that is worth noting about this is that the art is gorgeous, and so I'm super happy this is one of the Armory promos, because the extended art makes this like ghostly tornado looking thing
so cool.
Just
Blood
amazing.
Tornado.
Yeah, I mean it looks really cool, so I'm actually excited.
Yeah, this looks like some Evil Dead shit. Like, honestly, this is some Deadite bullshit. I love it.
Core belching. That was the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Because I was the one in my head. I was waiting for chain, but that also
core belching vanishes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's fun shit to do. But yes, we did get a couple other things. We did get the new Luminaris spoiled. It seems kind of mid, but it's hard to say. I mean, without context. But it's just again, light illusionist weapon, scepter, two-handed, same. This one is just as an instant, 2 resources, target angel attack or attack action card with Herald in its name gets go again. One thing to note, it's an instant and not an action. Yes. So you can be a little tricksy with it. And then also the fact that this makes red heralds better. So a blue pitch into this and a red herald is quite good, especially against a more aggressive deck.
So the other thing that stood out to me too is it felt like it was very specific and measured in its choice, because it's 2 pitch and an instant. And so for all of that stuff where it's like you have to have a yellow card in your pitch zone to activate anything, like this just does it. Yeah. And you don't need a target because it's well, I mean, you need a target because like it has to target the whatever, but like you're going to be able to fulfill that requirement really easy, right? Like you don't have to go out of your way, is what I'm trying to say, to utilize this. So this just felt like an easy out for getting things loaded as far as like soul and everything else goes. I don't know. I'm with you. It's very hard to judge right now, but I suspect that we're going to see quite a few new heralds and some shiny new angels.
Yeah, we know that the skirmish prizing for the next set of skirmishes that also was released very, very recently. It's Herald of Tenacities as your extended art rainbow foils, and then Genesis is your cold foil. So those are cards that are coming back in our lives, and I'm not exactly in love with any of that because illusionists are cops and all cops are bastards. But the card we got revealed today, which is that art that we were speculating on a few weeks ago with Shiana and Prism, is called Alluring Inducement. It is a Shiana specialization. So our girl's getting some love here. And that's fantastic.
You know what the thing is about any specialization card is that Shiana can play it.
Even if it's a Shiana specialization. You dumb bitch. It is a shapeshifter action attack because it's a Shiana card, literally, for fuck's sake. And it is a yellow, all 2s, baby. 2 pitch, 2 cost, 2 attack, 2 block. Sounds like shit, but it has text. Yeah. When this attacks, the defending hero reveals their hand. You may choose an attack action card revealed this way. If you do, this becomes the chosen card. It does not have Phantasm or anything fun like that. So if they reveal a Pulverize, it is a 2-cost Pulverize.
Or Crippling Crush.
Or Crippling.
Or there's so many.
There's a lot of bullshit.
Like
that.
Stupid illusionists and all that. They were already cops for the Guardian class anyway. Poor Bravo, man. Can't catch a break.
Can't catch a break.
He's trying to be raw, unmitigated violence, and these cops won't let him.
Nope. Just keep holding him down. There's also a keyword ability on this one that is also fascinating. We also saw it. There will be a card spoiled soon from Flukenbox, I believe, that is a Warrior Majestic that we don't know the name of. We just know it's a Warrior Majestic and has the keyword Unity on it. And the keyword Unity is when this defends together with a card from your hand, so you're blocking with 2 cards from hand, create an Eloquence token under any number of heroes' control. Eloquence tokens, we found out today, are basically quicken tokens for non-attack actions. And as you can probably predict fairly easily, Toma Fyendal experience to buy out almost immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad I have mine.
Yeah,
I think they even have 1 extra. I think I have a white border extra, but
I own 12. so it had us
Of course you
covered.
do.
3 foil and 9 non. I'm very good at opening Toma Fiandel, and even to the point that like I sent out Patreon packs to people, and one of the messages I got back was like, "Hey, good pack, open a Toma Fiandel," and I'm like, apparently everything I touch is a fucking Toma Fiandel. So this is kind of fascinating because you get to set up some really, really interesting turns with this card and Eloquence tokens and non-attacks.
Well, this is fascinating for so many reasons. Well, like when I saw this card, there were so many things from a design perspective that just started tingling for me. I like to say my design senses started tingling. Now, granted, I've never had an official job working in game design, but I've been a lifelong like lover. So I really appreciate when a bunch of things start tying together and you see something just kind of like open up brand new space. So the first thing that stood out to me is I think that the unity part is just when this defends with a card from hand. I don't think that the eloquence will always be the outcome of unity. So when we get the warrior card, for example, I think we're going to see unity and it's going to have a different effect other than create the eloquence part.
So
I think that
this
unity
plus equipment, maybe.
I think that possible. Well, it could be this whenever this card defends with equipment, or it could just be whenever this card defends with a card from hand, but then it does something else. Like the warrior effect might not be create an eloquence token, because otherwise they would have, I don't think, put all that lead in text. It would probably have either just said unity and then had the brackets, right? Like the specialization has behind it. So the fact that it's like unity is the thing that like, hey, obviously unity is you do something together, right? And this next part is defends with a card from hand. That's the doing it together. I think everything after the comma on hand, so the create an eloquence token, is up for grabs, which is really cool because it means that you can throw unity into a number of classes that gives you effects that play into that class's strength. It also means you're now creating ways on attack cards and non-attack cards and whatever to reward you for considering blocking. So as we maybe see the sunset of Oldhim, we were kind of talking about, is it an aggro summer? Well, we might be getting a bunch of tools now where, you know, maybe the above rate play is to use this as a blocking card. So I really like that we have this stuff to consider. The other thing that had me really excited is Eloquence token. Because it's a token, it doesn't mean it's necessarily class limited here to Shapeshifter or anything else. And there's a number of classes that would love Eloquence tokens. Guardians is one of them. There's a number of really shitty auras that you don't play because they don't say go again on them, right? And your one use of Mage Master's boots. And it's an aura, and there's a bunch of Guardian cards that interact with auras. But like, let's be honest, your one use of Mage Master boots isn't enough to play any of these shitty Guardian things. So maybe we get something that gives them the option to play those cards. The Eloquence token is also really scary when you start thinking about like wizards playing potions and things, and then still being able to do other stuff. I hope that Wizard does not get too many accesses to the Eloquence token, but there are some classes that I do legitimately think could benefit from that.
We're gonna. You have something on that still? I mean, you're still going.
Dude, I'm keep going, like, baby. This was great. So the Eloquence token opens up a lot. I think Unity opens up a lot. And then the last piece that really jumped out to me as well is the fact that you can combine this with your other Unity cards. So you could maybe be in a situation where you're staring at a hand where like a 3-card block isn't just like, oh, I have to do it. It's like I get to do crazy shit on my turn off, right? So like if I block with this, it has Unity, and then I block with, again, something else that maybe it doesn't create an Eloquence. Maybe it makes like spectral shields, right? Whatever. Actually, that's giving me nightmares now that I've said it out loud.
Don't put that in the world.
You know, like that's very, very legitimately the world that we could be living in. And so, yeah, Oldham's gone, but we might be going into an era where, you know, the cops are back, baby, and the Unity and everything else could be a part of it. So, yeah, I mean, when I saw like this card, there's so much going on with this one Majestic that my head almost exploded with like just possibilities for this set, but also the future. So like that's the other cool thing too, right? Is this is just a supplemental set. So all the stuff that we're getting here, very well could be expanded upon, 2, 3, 4 sets in a row or down the line or whatever. So I'm jacked. This card really got me excited when it was revealed.
So I'm going to do a couple more pieces on Eloquence here. First, if you want to acquire a cold foil Eloquence, you get that through ordering the bundle from Star City Games for Dusk Till Dawn. Hashtag no free ads. They probably
I
owe
hate
me
that.
at this point. I really don't enjoy
Listen,
that that's the case.
yeah,
But it's a
LFS.
cool.
I got to put my grievance in. I'm sorry.
No, you do it. I love
I
grievances.
listen. I love you guys. You know I do, Alex. I know you probably don't listen to the show, but if you do, and you're hearing this, and you have to provide feedback somewhere, the seller specific stuff like playmats, I was fine with, whatever. But when it starts to get tokens, so this isn't even the first one. We had the Peace of Mind one as well. When you have the
That's
alternate
Team
art,
Covenant, right?
yeah, it's Team Covenant.
It's Sand Cover. They've had a ton.
Right, they've had a ton, and I have nothing against those guys, right? But my problem with that is that I am somebody who loves to support my local shop. I want to do my pre-orders through my LGS, and it's really frustrating when my choice is that I can either order through Star City or I can go through my LGS, and I could go through my LGS, but then have to spend, X number of dollars more to also pick up these cold foil tokens that I'm sure are going to look beautiful and that I'm going to want. And so I feel like I'm punished for being loyal to my local game store. So if you're going to do these, I think it should be just as a case topper or whatever for everybody, and not just Star City. Go back to doing the mats or other things. That's my piece, because again, I just feel like I'm being punished for being loyal, right? Because I'm going to want these tokens, at least one of them, but probably a couple. And now I have to make that choice, right? And it sucks. So
okay, and that, yeah, absolutely, I agree. The fact that these are a part of a booster case bundle, not box case bundle.
yeah, if it was a box, okay, fine. I'll give Star City money for a box, but a case that might be my entire pre-order at a LGS to start. I usually do 1 to 2 cases. For supplementals, it's usually just 1, and then big sets, it's usually 2 for me. So if I do 1 case, that's my entire pre-order,
right? Next piece with this token is I am so fucking happy that it's not an illusionist specific thing, because if it was an illusionist or an Luminaris just got to also attack with this until it was useful to blow, I would be so upset. Because you'd be like, bash with it, bash with it, bash with it. Ooh, there's my Passing Mirage. Passing Mirage with go again, do shit. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Fucking cops. Last thing on Eloquence token, this art is bonkers cool.
Right.
Oh my God. Knocking it out of the park consistently on art. It is basically so I've always enjoyed the art in Flesh and Blood from when I started. I started playing in Monarch and going backwards into WTR and Arc Crew and then into Monarch. I'm like, this art's nice. This art is cool. Effectively starting in Tales is where it started. I started going, oh, okay. So I started really noticing some things. And then Everfest was just an explosion of some of the coolest fucking art that I've seen on cards. And the foot has been firmly on the gas pedal and to the floorboards ever since. Because every time that I look at new sets and look at new set art, I'm always just like, oh, holy shit. Like, from the utter brutality of the assassin cards in both Dynasty and in Outsiders, as well as all the draconic cards in Uprising, the Marvel Dragons, all that shit. And then obviously for me, the epoch, like the pinnacle, the mountaintop is blood on her hands, because she's literally looking at her reflection in blood in her hands. If you've ever seen the foil of it, they foiled the blood. So when it hits the light, you see the face as the only negative space. And it's just so goddamn gory, beautiful, creepy. It's like it's like in horror movies when somebody looks in the mirror and they see another face over their shoulder reflecting back. It's that same feeling. And it's just, they have done so well at crushing art that I'm always floored by at least one or two cards every set. And it seems like recently in Outsiders, it was like 20 that just ended me. Even in like Dynasty, Shred is, oh my fuck, that card goes hard. And there's so many of those now that they've really just kept upping their game over and over and over and over again. And it's just hats off, man. Like, it's so cool. I don't know what else to say about that. I just have art.
You have an art on. I know.
I have an art on. That's a good way to put it. Art.
There is some absolutely gorgeous Flesh and Blood art, and they continue to outdo themselves. And my brain started frying because, like, do you remember during the comics and trading card craze in the 90s when they started doing the lenticular stuff?
Yep.
I realized that what I want is, and I know that it makes them extra sick, but I really want a lenticular version of Shiana that when you tilt it, the card, like, she shape changes on the card. She shape changes? That's what that's where my brain went when you were talking. I was like, oh man, like that would be, that'd be top notch.
Damn. Now they're going to just make that happen and make it like a serialized chase card just to fuck with you.
Oh my God. Here's your even next step, right?
LSS, if you're listening.
Listen, it's serialized, but each one is individual so that like one is she shape changes into each like different hero.
Oh
right?
My God. That's so utterly brilliant, and I fucking hate you for it. Oh my God, that's like Bill Cosby levels.
Not only are you chasing like the fact that they're serialized, but everyone who has their own favorite hero now they want to own like the Shiana version of Bravo, the Shiana version of Uzuri.
And for those of us who are Shiana stans, we want all of them.
Right.
That sucks for us.
I mean, it does suck, but I'm just saying like that.
It's a license to print money. It hits so hard. That goes so hard. So like this set is such a mind fuck for me at this point, because I go hard on Shiana. I love Shiana. Like, one of my favorite things to do as far as memeing and piling goes is just playing Shiana. I'm a warrior girl. Like, Kasai's my girl. I want to play fucking warrior, and there's warrior cards. My first ever deck that I built, the deck that put me into this game, was Shadow Runeblade. Like, the only negative part of this set for me is the fact that there are cops in it.
Right.
Everything else is great.
But every set needs a good villain, so
yeah, it's like this set it's so hard for me to pick a lane, because one, I will probably just play Vincent in Classic Constructed because that's going to be my shit. But at the same time, in Blitz, I'm going to get new toys on both sides, in Shiana and in Kasai. And so I'm going to be able to it's Christmas with all this shit that I'm seeing. And then they have to put the cop shit in there. But I get it. You can't just make a set for me. I understand. But fuck, this set is so cool to me. Like, this is what I want. This is my shit. You know where we're going to be this weekend, Derek?
Not playing Road to Nationals events. But for a good reason this weekend. I can't be too mad about this weekend. We're going to be in Pittsburgh.
You could be fucking mad about last weekend. You were celebrating your child's birthday.
Yeah, but the other stuff was all
I get that. Yeah, it's a downer. But
yeah.
In having dealt with any number of dead family members in my life, like, I get it.
Well, but this weekend, we're going to be in Pittsburgh.
We're going to be in Pittsburgh, baby.
Not one, but multiple really cool events all happening the same weekend at the same location.
Yeah. Well, and a couple of things here. One, the Yinzers go hard. This is what they do. So mad respect to the Yinzers. They have... they're getting people into a super armory on Friday night. So if you're in town early, not even that early, like 6:30, 6 or 6:30, one of the two. There's an armory at a local game shop. You can hop in our Discord. You can follow Sin on Stream, Matt on Twitter. He's posting information all the time. He's putting it in Discords. You can follow Jeffo on Twitter. You can follow Greentree on Twitter. You can follow Realm on Twitter. And I'll try to remember to put all of those in the show notes. But the point being here is that so Friday you have something to do because you have a Super Armory thing going on. Then on Saturday you get the 5K brawl happening, which is, you know, obviously $5,000 classic constructed tournament, gold foil and PTI to the winner, as well as a invite to the, and top 8 gets invites to the Realm 20K in December. You also get an outsider sealed battle hardened on Sunday. And if that's just all, if all of that just isn't enough for you, if your beak has not been firmly wetted, Saturday and Sunday they'll also have Super Armory side events going here. So the Super Armory on Saturday is a $25 classic construction event with an entire Crucible era Armory kit getting given out, which that shit is not cheap, not whatsoever. Sunday is $20 Blitz with an entire Modern Era kit going out. And then there's also prize wall tickets attached to these. The prize wall is covered in insane stuff. And there's Realm invites attached to these tournaments too. It's absolutely absurd. And so if you scrub out of the 5K, here's this $25 classic constructed event with a fucking Crucible era Armory kit to give away. Those had things like cold foil Kasai's in them and other just super insane promos, as well as the playmats are epic from that era. So
it has one of my
so
favorite playmats of all time, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because Mangle is
Mangle's one of those.
Era. And if you haven't seen the Mangle playmat, you know, talking about art and brutality, the Mangle playmat is so good.
Mm-hmm. That one is nuts. I absolutely adore that one. There's a few of those. I think there's a Whirling Mist Blossom one too that was in that era, and that one's super cool. There's I think that Edge of Autumn was I want to say Edge of Autumn was like a higher tier event mat.
I was gonna say it was around that same time, but I don't think that was for the armories.
I don't think so. But those Armory kits are stacked with cool stuff. So obviously, I'm tempted to not play in the brawl and just play in that and for the kit, because that's so cool. And then, as per always, there is an after party, speakeasy party type of thing on Saturday night at the 5-Iron Golf Bar. So I'll be swinging golf clubs all night and getting hammered, because that's what I do, I guess. They do it on the golf course too, so it's the same thing. I just don't have to drive in a cart. It's fantastic. Get more swings in. So when I separate my shoulder or break an arm like Derek would do, we all know how to take care of that because Derek just went through it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to... Yeah, it looks great, honestly. I'm just not going to wait until my biceps actually fucking lopsided to potentially go and get somebody to look at it. You dumb son of a bitch.
I had events to cast, and I'm dedicated.
You're something. Certifiable, that's what you are. And also, if you are so inclined for these types of things, the Realm 20K, which will be in December, is giving away $20,000 in prizes. It's a free tournament for those who qualify. And on top of that, the winner will get a WSOP, which stands for World Series of Poker, style bracelet with rubies and black diamonds. It's gorgeous. Like, you absolutely should take a look at that. Speaking of the brawl again, we're going to repeat this. If you donate an item, so dental hygiene, soap, shampoo, body wash, period products, deodorant, to the free store at the brawl, you also get entered into a drawing for a Realm 20K Invitational. They will also be drawing out of that same pool to give away 10 lucky winners will receive a Good Deeds promo courtesy of Flesh and Pod by way of LSS. Thank you, LSS, for giving us the opportunity to support these things. Also, we'll be running, I'm going to run this till the end of May, but we're still doing the Good Deeds promo giveaway. So you donate to the free store at the brawl. That's what the raffle is. If you donate online to the free store, and the link will be in the show notes, each donation that you make via the link on the free store site, take a screenshot, send it to me, and I will send you a promo. So far, you guys have done great. I believe we've raised $125 so far. So good job, Fappers. We can still do, but if you want a promo, easiest way to get it. Make a donation to the free store. Be happy to send it. I believe I have them all sent out now. If anybody has yet to receive one and you're listening to this, please let me know so I can get that taken care of. But as of right now, my list, I have sent everybody out that has donated. Another reminder from the Realm. It's almost like we're sponsored by them. But hashtag no free ads. Keith really upset me because he pointed out to me that our entire show is technically a free ad for Flesh and Blood via LSS. And that actually made me very upset for a little bit.
No.
I was like, well, fuck.
No, that's where he's wrong. Our entire podcast is simply piracy, and it's our copyright infringement.
You're right. It is. But infringement's a strong word. We took some protected liberties that were granted a pass by LSS as to not be considered infringement legally. If you do have any questions about that, you're more than welcome to send an email to Flesh and Pod
Here's
Legal.
what actually happened. They asked the LSS legal team, and they said, this is absolutely infringement, but nobody's going to listen to this thing, so it doesn't matter. Let them do what they want.
And they were wrong. That's all I got to say about that. And they were wrong. But the Realm Battleship, by the way, is still on. So that is the Realm cruise with Flesh and Blood events happening on it. Signups are still open. Again, you can always check out the Realm's Twitter feed at the Realm Games 1 for the cruise giveaway. So they are giving away a cabin on the cruise ship. Go ahead and find that giveaway there. I don't think they've drawn it yet, but the show goes out on Tuesday the 23rd. So I can't guarantee, and we're recording it before then, so I can't really guarantee that that's true information right now or not. And if you miss, you missed. But you can still sign up for and pay to be on as part of that cruise. I will be there. I know that several of the content creator community will be there as well. And I know a lot of players have already signed up. So it will be a blast. So it's a chance to go play Flesh and Blood on a cruise ship in the Bahamas. Like, what more do you want? We have listener questions, by the way, Derek.
Yeah,
People
we do.
Asked us questions. It's wonderful. I love when people ask us questions. The first one is from George. He asks, so got another question for the pod. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
With Command and Conquer being absurdly expensive, I don't know if I agree with that statement, but I get it. Would you use Amnesia or Wreak Havoc as a replacement card, or would there be another one you would choose?
Do you want me to take the first crack?
I do. I really do.
All right. So the answer is it depends. And I know that that's not what you want to hear. You want an easy yes or no. But it really does depend on what you are hoping to get out of said Command and Conquer. So a lot of times Command and Conquer is a card that you're using to disrupt combo turns of your opponent. So when they arsenal their Channel Mount Heroic that we heard about the casino earlier, right? You want to threaten that and then make them give up cards, thus delaying their combo. Neither of those cards that you listed in your example, nor are there other cards that readily exist outside of class cards like Leave No Witnesses that do that. So you're really looking at like the other parts of the card. Wreak Havoc is a card that I've played a lot in Missouri, for example, because the real relevant line of text on that card is the defense reactions cannot be played. So Wreak Havoc is a great card against traditionally defensive decks like an Oldhim. Now, Oldhim LLing means it's less likely to be as relevant, but there's still a lot of folks playing Sink Below, a lot of folks playing Fate Foreseen, et cetera, et cetera. So if in your deck you were playing Command and Conquer to get around some of those defense reactions, then run Wreak Havoc. It fills a similar role. If you are playing Command and Conquer because it costs 2, swings for 6, and blocks for 3, and the other parts are nice to haves, then sure, Amnesia is a good option. Nourishing Emptiness is another good option. In fact, the Uzuri list that just took second at Antwerp, yeah, sure, it's running Command and Conquer, but it is also running 3 copies of Nourishing Emptiness. It was even running 3 copies of the yellow Raging Onslaught because, again, same concept, right? It swings for 6, it blocks for 3. It also pitches for a yellow, which is kind of nice. So in a list like that, you know, the yellow pitch is very relevant. But you can find cards that do similar things. You just have to ask yourself, what was I running Command and Conquer primarily for? And that's going to change from deck to deck. That's why I say it depends, right? And Uzuri might run it for one reason, whereas Oldhim might have ran it for another reason. There are literally some decks that run Command and Conquer primarily to be a Phantasm popper with upside. And so if you can't afford Command and Conquer, that just means you can't afford the upside. You can still find relevant poppers like some of the ones that I've mentioned. So ultimately, just say to yourself, what was I including it for, and what's the next closest replacement? Sometimes it's Wreak Havoc. A lot of times it's going to be those other options that block for 3.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. There's no shortage of 2 for 6s in the game. There's
Erase Face.
Erase Face is on there. Down and Dirty's on there.
I love Down and Dirty right now.
Down and Dirty's great right now. And so there's a lot of options. If with us moving away from Oldhim, like it's possible, as an example, like I think I brought in Briar, I don't bring in Command and Conquer that much. Mainly because the utility of the card is very narrow for that deck. Now, it does have multiple pieces of utility, which makes it good. 1, it's generic. 2, it's a 2 for 6. 3, it blocks for 3. 4, it has the defense react clause. 5, it blows up arsenals, and 6, it pops dragons. So there's a lot. That's the reason the card is expensive. It has so much utility in one card. But that being said, if you're looking at attacking specific portions of a metagame or of a tournament or of decks that are problematic, you can definitely get away with cheaper options, which kind of goes to the next question, which is from Greg, which is piggybacking here. Is CNC required for competitive play? And my answer is no, it is not. You do have to exert a little bit more effort into understanding the metagame you're walking into for any event. However, it is not a gatekeeping card. Access to Command and Conquer is it's percentages. You're moving the needle percentages.
I like to think of it as like, this might not land with everybody. I know not everybody plays Dungeons and Dragons, but to use a D&D analogy, right? Command and Conquer has like an 18 in the main stat and 14s and 15s in the substats, and there are plenty of cards that exist that have 12s and 11s in substats as well, right? It's just that it does a bunch of things relatively well that are not necessarily like the main use, but it's just that all of those sub uses and niche cases add up, right? That's why it's so popular. Because when you're looking, the thing is even though you get so many cards in your classic constructed deck list, really deck building is very narrow. You don't have a lot of room to work with, and so it's a card that fills a lot of roles in one slot. That's really what it comes down to. So
I heard fills a lot of holes in one slot.
Yeah, roles.
Okay, I heard that wrong.
And if you don't have it available, then you just have to figure out the best ways to fill some of those other roles. It's just that it does so many things that it's an easy check off, right? Like I said, Phantasm, block for 3, all that stuff, right? I'm with Logan. I do not think it's required. In fact, there are several deck lists I have registered for tournaments that didn't have a single Command and Conquer in it. And that's anything from like aggro decks, right? Like I've played Phi decks that didn't have Command and Conquer, too expensive. I played Bravo decks that you can pummel a Command and Conquer and that's great, but you can't dominate it, and it's a red and there's only so many reds you want. And so I chose the disruptive versions. And because, again, there are some class cards that fill those roles, right? So like for a Bravo, if you can get the crush effect on a disable, it's almost the same thing. It's not quite the same thing, but it's enough that role is filled. Thus, I don't need to dedicate that to my pool of 80. Yeah. So I don't think that it's required. I think there's actually a lot of decks that are hurt by trying to force it in because a lot of people see it and they're like, well, it's expensive, so it must be good. So I want to run it. I know a lot of people who, like, literally every time they start building a list, they put in 3 E-Strikes, 3 Command and Conquers, and then they figure out the rest. And I just don't believe in that.
No.
So I don't think it's required. I will, however, say if you are somebody who long-term wants to compete at the highest levels, so I don't think it's required to be competitive, but I do think if you want to compete at the highest levels, having the ability to pivot from one deck to another is important, and that means having those staples, right? So you can win local events, you can even win relatively large events without Command and Conquer. But if you're somebody who is like, hey, next year I'm going to go to every domestic calling and a bunch of battle hardens and whatever, you probably want to invest in Command and Conquers at that point so you can pivot. But also, and I'm just throwing this out here, if you're somebody who can afford to travel that much, you can afford Command and Conquer.
Sure. I think that one of the things that gets lost on people is the more specialized a deck is, the less it wants Command and Conquer.
Yep.
A good example, probably my favorite example, is playing Starvo. You have limited room in Starvo for non-elemental cards because you're looking to fuse as much as possible. And Command and Conquer does not check the boxes. Prism played 0 most of the time.
I was going to say Prism very rarely played it. Sometimes I saw them included for like mirror matchups when there was a lot of Prism. So like I've seen Prism lists with it, but usually Prism wasn't running it. Starvo didn't run it. Like I said,
Chain didn't run it.
More often than not, my Bravo lists don't run it. It's kind of a meta call, but a lot of times I don't run it. Early Chain ran it, like Seeds Chain, just because everything was free, so you needed, like, you literally had to find things to pay for. Right. So like early Seeds Chain ran it, but after that it didn't, because it just didn't really fit the bill.
Right.
Like I said, Phi doesn't run it. Like there's a lot of lists. There's versions of Dromai that don't run it for similar reasons. It's just too expensive at 2. So the only time that I would say Command and Conquer is required for you to be competitive is if you're going to be playing Emperor in Blitz for some reason.
At which point in time, you probably should go to drug counseling.
Yes.
I think we've said everything we need to know about that one. That got dark all of a sudden. Last question is from Dom, who, by the way, now Dom is a close friend of mine, and this guy, I should say this motherfucker, gets into the game and makes the decision to just start popping history packs because reasons.
Sure. That's what you
do. He owns 3 Command and Conquers without ever having to actually pay retail for one.
I do want to.
That's some bullshit.
You say that's bullshit, but I do want to throw this out. One of the reasons that they're so expensive is that people don't want to crack history packs. But I honestly think it's the best entry point for new players.
Right, like, it is. That's why I told him, and that's why he started doing that.
Like, they're still available. Like, you can find them in packs and history pack. If you're a new player and you're somebody who wants to get into the game, I really do encourage you, like, open some history packs. There's good stuff in there, and even if you don't get Command and Conquers, there's a lot of other very playable stuff like Art of Wars and so much more. There's just, I think the issue is there's a lot of entrenched players that don't want to open history pack, and so we're in this weird phase where we're waiting for new players to flood in and open that stuff so it hits the market, and the entrenched players are not opening it, and so the prices are high, right? Like
Like
it'll sort itself out over time, but we're just like in a very weird specific spot.
we're going to stay completely off the rails for a moment, but got into a discussion about the concept of peak supply in card games this weekend, because I made reference to we're getting close to what I think is the inflection point of peak supply for Outsiders. And the person I was talking to was like, wait a second, that can't be right, because Outsiders is still in print. I'm like, yeah, you don't understand. Here's what peak supply is. And peak supply is the point at which the most available product is on the market as singles. So right now we have one sealed Battle Hardened coming up this weekend at the Realm event in Pittsburgh with Green Tree Sports Cards, hashtag no free ads. And we have a couple more callings where Outsiders is the most recent set. And at that point in time is when you'll be at what we would consider peak supply. What that means in a vacuum is people have stopped ripping open boxes and packs of Outsiders at a rate that floods the market with more and more singles as time comes. They're more likely to be sitting on a shelf somewhere or sitting in the backstock of a local game store being open intermittently. So you don't see large influxes of these cards hitting the singles market. So that's when things start to drift upward, because supply starts drying up in the singles market. That's peak supply. So peak supply typically is the cheapest that those cards will ever be. And now there are outliers. In this case, Down and Dirty exists in the outliers section of this because somebody bought all of them. However, things that are in Outsiders that are staples that are right now relatively cheap, things like Give and Take is a good example. Amnesia is Amnesia in Outsiders, right?
Yes. Amnesia.
That's a decent example of something that could be a staple. All of that is eventually going to start drifting upwards in price. And that's not even mentioning the assassin stuff and the ranger stuff that is already sort of in a price creep mode, melting points and
the codexes.
The codexes.
Like I still firmly believe that your non-frailty codexes
they're cheap. They're on sale right now. They're on sale.
Super cheap, because I think that there are some legitimately good uses for the other ones. Even now in the current meta, I think there are some specific cases where they're as good as frailty, and
they can be.
And when folks start like hitting that and really catching on, I think that those are going to jump up. I don't think they'll like match frailty necessarily, but I think that they are too cheap right now.
What if an assassin banishes a Vantum Banshee?
Oh, so don't get me wrong. I've already had a lot of nightmares about the entire like contract interaction with blood debt stuff.
No blocks
on both sides. So like the dream is you're playing against like a Levia and you give her a bunch of blood debt faster than she wanted. Sure. And then on the reverse end, like you're playing against, Vincent or New Chain or whatever, and you throw a couple of contracts and they're just grinning and you're like, oh, well,
I'm dead. That sucks.
It's like it's the Flesh and Blood equivalent of like going to donate plasma, right? They gave you a little bit of silver. You made some money, but it's going to cost you some health.
Yeah, a lot of it. But we're going to go back to Dom's question right now, which is, do you think there will be a ban against something of Lexi's to pair with Oldhim going to the retirement home? This is complicated, honestly. I don't like bans. I just don't. I don't like suspension. I kind of hate suspensions. I have a love-hate relationship with suspensions. I don't like bans. The thing I despise the most is errata. Fuck errata. I do understand it's necessary at times. Looking at you, Briar, but the I find I open a card to play a card. I want the card I open. I want to be able to read it, and it does what it says on the card. Stop. That's just I hate errata. So that being said, Lexi is continuing to convert very well in big events, but is also continually the most played deck at these events.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start looking at it on rate, it doesn't look near as bad as Starvo is a good example, right? Where no hero, a god, I hope, actually, just like let's dial that back for a second. I fucking hope that no hero ever gets close to the number of living legend points that Bravo Star of the Show has. That motherfucker's over 1,500. He made it and then did half a lap again to style on it. And was only legal for like under 4 months in Classic Constructed. Hard pass. Don't ever want to see that shit again. But
I'm actually really sad that I didn't get to contribute to any of those. I have a couple of seconds when I was playing him.
Yeah.
And I'm very sad just because I wanted to just be on, that piece of history. But
there are so many people that are on that list multiple times, though.
Yeah, I know, but
I mean, yeah, same here. Like I finished second like three or four times with Starvo. Okay.
Yeah. The one that was the most heartbreaking was a Starvo mirror, and it was a hell of a game. Don't get me wrong, but it was a double whammy because I took second, and the person opened a gold Anothos. So like for me, it was hard. Like I lose sleep over that one sometimes.
You don't sleep
because of that.
No, I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, it's only partially true.
I don't think there's a targeted ban you can do to only hit Lexi either, outside of Voltaire. But I don't feel it. Like the cards in that deck that are super good are things like Bolt and Shot and Rain Razors. And
I was just gonna say, so I think legitimately, one, let me just start with saying I don't think that there's going to be a ban. Personally,
no,
I think
absolutely.
that they will at least give us a period to see if the meta sorts itself out, and then,
we have another set coming,
right? And we have another set coming, so I think they'll give it a moment, and then they'll address it if needed. But if there is going to be a targeted ban, I think that personally it's one of three cards. It's either Rain Razors. I think that one's the easiest because it hits Lexi harder than it does Azalea.
It does. Because Azalea doesn't even use the card half the time.
Right. And it's not that it can't be played in Azalea by any stretch, but it's definitely core to the Lexi game plan, and it's definitely core to her big explosive turns. So if they're trying to rein that in, right, I think it's Rain Razors first. If it's not Rain Razors, I think it's Bolt and Shot because it does everything Lexi wants it to do. Again, Azalea can use it, but Lexi's
the best arrow in both of those decks.
Yeah.
Like,
and so that one's another potential option. And then the third one, but I don't think it would ever be this, but the third one would be Three of a Kind.
The Lexi deck started cutting it.
And that's why I was gonna say I don't think it would be that, right? I don't think
Voltaire's the only one I can think of that actually makes any sense.
Yeah, Voltaire is another option, but I firmly believe it's either Rain Razors or Bolt and Shot. Personally, I think those are the two like outlying offenders there.
I also like how fucked it would be if Voltaire would get banned, because then all three of the Majestic class weapons from Tales of Aria would have been banned. Duskblade on day 0, Winter's Wail much longer, and then eventually Voltaire.
Duskblade was before day 0. It was negative.
We made a mistake. Once I described to people, they're like, well, I mean, yeah, but like it has to hit, right?
No.
It has to hit, right?
No.
Nope.
It's
what
not
the fuck?
It's like, not Dawnblade. It's Duskblade.
Duskblade. And oh god. That thing, it does not, shockingly, in a class that always wants to play a non-attack and an attack in the same turn, it just checks the boxes really fast.
Yeah, I love that they were like, hey, let's balance this by just like, let's start it at 2 attack.
You could have started at -3 and it wouldn't be balanced.
Well, especially because it was 1 pitch too.
Right.
Like,
doesn't matter.
If they would have either made it have a hit requirement or cost more than 1 pitch or both or something, like, sure. But it was 1 pitch, 2 attack, but it doesn't need to hit. Like,
it made it so that it became impossible to fatigue chain, which was the best way to fight chain. Oops.
Yeah.
Not good. Well, I think that's all we got for this week, buddy.
All we got, just a casual 2 hours or whatever it is.
Hour and 36-ish. So we got through things pretty quickly. I'm sure there might have been 1 or 2 things we missed, but I don't think there was. But who knows?
Well, that's because I'm out here still being really excited for Alluring Inducement.
Oh, you're induced. But I have the patrons pulled up for like the 4th consecutive week. So we're going to give our shout outs. And they are to first our associate producers, who are Andy, Kenny, and May. And then to our executive producers on up, who are C-Dubs, Nick D, Josh, Lance Goodthrust, baby. Matt with 2 T's, Purple Mike, Rich, Ed, Philip, Taylor, and Trevor. If you are interested in becoming a patron of Flesh and Pod, you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. The link is in the show notes. We have a bunch of tiers to check them out. If you need to get a hold of us for any reason, you can find us on Twitter at FleshPod. You can also send us an email at fleshandpod@gmail.com. I'm the one that monitors that inbox. You can also leave YouTube comments. Please, if you do, like and subscribe on YouTube. Do not downvote every fucking episode like some asshole I know.
Hey, I comment for the algorithm.
You do comment for the algorithm, which I appreciate. You can also find us on all podcast platforms except for Stitcher, apparently, which I need to look into, because somebody was trying to find us on Stitcher and couldn't. Then I looked and I couldn't find us. I'm like, that's weird, because I know we were on there at one point, but everything else should be good. SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, whatever the fuck that is. Derek, what do you got?
A whole lot of nothing.
Great.
As always. I'm always so helpful at the end. It's so because helpful. The thing is, it's like, I know that as a content creator, I'm supposed to pitch my own stuff.
You're supposed to plug.
I just hate doing it. I feel dirty. Like, I know that that's the entire point. It makes me feel like such a used car salesman, and not in the like Flake calling me that because I'm wearing a tie thing for a broadcast way. I mean, like an actual way. But yeah, I'm Charmer. That's Charm3R on Twitch and on YouTube. And then I'm that Charmer on Twitter. Pretty much every social media, but Twitter is the one I use the most frequently. So you can interact with me there. I'm also in the Flesh and Pod Discord. I'm in a number of just Flesh and Blood based Discords, even my own. We talk about Flesh and Blood there as well. But Flesh and Pod, I hang out. I post giant pictures of dice to scare Elaine.
Or that video game, like that arcade game with the giant dice on it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was like the Monopoly game.
What the fuck is that?
It was some Monopoly thing, and those are like life-size huge dice. Like, those are not virtual, so they would have terrified her.
Yeah, I'm looking for that picture again. I think it was in General Nonsense.
I think it was in General Nonsense.
Yeah, it's right there. It is Play Again, and they're these monstrous dice. And then Dom, same buddy, is commented, if only I could swipe a credit card to keep rolling when I play Rhinar.
Yeah. So like the premise of those, it was at an arcade, and it was one of the ones where like you can earn tickets and then use the tickets to win prizes. That was when we were celebrating Stark's birthday. And so it's really just like spin the wheel from Price is Right, but instead of spinning the wheel, you spin the giant die. Right. And then on the video screen, it does its thing. So like you spin the die to roll the die. But because it was giant physical dice, I took a picture because I know how much that terrifies Elaine.
Elaine would think that they were going to kill her. She would 100% think of that. Oh, by the way, I guess I forgot to bring this up too. For those of our listeners who are part of of a gender minority of any sort, there is going to be a new league for those people that is being organized by our friends at Pitch Perfect Podcast, as well as the Rainbow Foils Discord. I can almost talk. I promise you, I have a degree in rhetoric. And they're going to be putting together a thing called the RXPL, so for Rainbow Foils X Pitch Perfect League. And they're it's sponsored by a ton of different places with some insanely cool prizing. Please check that out and participate if you're eligible. It'll be an insane amount of fun. They're going to have a casting desk for the top 8 once they get to that point through the league. And they are putting so much effort into this and such a good cause. Please go check that out. Yes, sir.
Last minute update just posted by the Flesh and Blood Twitter account. We almost never get news like this, as we're going to throw this in real quick. Apparently, the serialized artist sketch cards in Dusk Till Dawn will also be available in the Japan print runs as well. And they have posted an article about it.
That frightens me.
Yeah, if you thought that the prices were going to be...
we're fucked.
One way. So just here we go. Are you ready? Initially, the plan was to include 10 of each in the Belgium print run of Dusk Till Dawn to be distributed within North America, Brazil, and Europe. However, we've seen overwhelming eagerness for these cards from fans in the APAC region to be part of the excitement as well, which makes sense because they are very big into the shinies, much like myself. That's why we're overjoyed to announce that the 10 prisms and 10 chains will now also be available in the Japan print run of Dusk Till Dawn. Drop rate hasn't changed. There will still only be 10 total copies of each available globally across all language prints. So that also means that like there's 10, but there might only be 1 in your native language, for example, depending on how this turned out. Says now everyone worldwide will have their chance to open these breathtaking treasures. We look forward to sharing previews from this incredible milestone set with you Friday, June 30th, and wish you all the best of luck with your polls. So that's the entire article. But I just saw it go live while we were still recording. So I wanted to just say, hey, still just 10 of each, but it's going to be global. And to me, the big standout here is across all language prints, because that adds an extra layer to the scarcity potentially. So like if there's just a single Japanese prism, for example,
they're all one of ones regardless.
I mean, yeah, they are technically all 101s because they're hand drawn, etc. But
my headcanon is they don't exist. They're not real. They don't exist. And that way I will not be at all inclined to chase them. That's my story and sticking to it. They don't exist. Don't know that. Nope,
I mean, to me, they definitely don't exist. I will never open something like that. But
they don't exist.
There are some folks out there that might be interested. And since they posted while we were recording for a change.
Right. Okay. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Logan Peterson. I'm going to be talking about serialized cards apparently, and baseball, and then Flesh and Blood. Obviously I'm in the Discord, so you can just come and talk to me there. DMs are open to in Discord to anyone I share a server with. DMs just open on Twitter. I get a lot of spam DMs though. Like, I mean, a fucking lot.
Well, that's because you put the magic words out. You tweeted the words sugar daddy, and so a bunch of bots hit you up.
Shit. Oh fuck, I didn't think of that. God damn it.
That's why I tweeted back at you just DM, because I noticed you had like 3 or 4 accounts that instantly put like DM me. So I was just like, DM me, Logan, because you triggered the bots. You said sugar daddy on Twitter. There are certain, if you're listening, you don't know, there are certain things you don't tweet. Sugar daddy or sugar mama is one. A number of politic things will trigger bots as well, but the other big one is anything about art commissions, whether it's like commissioning emotes for Twitch or looking for an artist to make a banner, whatever. If you anything with art or commission, you're going to get hammered like immediately with DMs. So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 in the filtered additional messages. The top one, and I'm not even clicking on these because no way, is hi, my name is Angelia. Nice to meet you. I want to share my life with you. Okay, great. I'm being sent a bunch of tweets. This one, hi, my name is Mai. I'm 33 years old. Congrats. Fuck. Yeah, okay. Yep. That's on me. I did that. I'm gonna have to delete my Twitter. Shit. All right. Well, that's our show for this week. So
yep.
I look for a new Twitter handle from me next week. Bye.
I think you should register at Sugar Daddy.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, God. That one's got to be taken. I'm not looking. Fuck this. Like, I'm done. All right. Y'all have a good week. We'll talk to you in Pittsburgh.
Everybody.
Bye.